let's have the first example for Maclaurin series. So we need to find the Maclaurin series of sine of x. So we need to get the 5 derivatives of this trigonometric function. So we have here the given, which is f of x is equal to sine of x. So the derivative of this trigonometric function is equal to cosine of x. So this will be our first derivative. And the second derivative will be the derivative of this function. So cosine of x, the derivative of this function is negative sine of x. So this will be our second derivative. And the third derivative, which is the derivative of sine of x, is equal to cosine of x. Since we have here the negative, it will be negative cosine of x. So this will be our third derivative. So the fourth derivative, and the derivative of this function, which we will have negative, and the derivative of cosine of x is equal to negative sine of x. Since we have both negative, it will be equal to positive sine of x. So this will be our fourth derivative. And the fifth derivative will be the derivative of sine of x. Again, the derivative of sine of x is cosine of x. Since we already accomplished the first step, which is to differentiate the function, we will move to step 2, which is to substitute the value of x, which is equal to 0. So we have here the function, which is sine of x. X will be substituted to 0 by 0, which is sine 0 is equal to 0. And the first derivative is equal to cosine 0 is equal to 1, and the second derivative is negative sine 0 is equal to 0. So again, the third derivative is equal to negative cosine 0. Since cosine 0 is equal to 1 and negative cosine 0 is equal to negative 1. So the fourth derivative substituted by the 0. So we have here sine of x. Sine 0 is equal also to 0. So the fifth derivative is cosine 0, which is equal to 1. Now that we already substituted the value of 0, now we can move to step 3, which is to form Maclaurin series using the general formula. So the general formula for Maclaurin series is this one. So to simplify, we will just plug in all the values that we come up in this step 2. So we will have sine of x, which is our function, is equal to our f sub 0, which is equal to 0, plus our first derivative, which is cosine of x, and substituted by 0, it will be 1x, plus our second derivative will be negative sine 0, which is 0x squared over 2 factorial, plus our third derivative substituted by 0 is equal to negative 1 x raised to x cubed over 3 factorial, plus, and the fourth derivative will be 0 again, so 0 x raised to 4 over 4 factorial. So the fifth derivative is 1, so we have here 1 x raised to 5 over 5 factorial plus so to simplify this series, we will just cancel out all the zeros. So the remaining series will be our answer. So 0 and another 0, and this is another 0. So to clean it up, so we will have x plus, since we have here negative 1, so the sign will be negative x cubed over 3 factorial, plus we have here 1 x raised to 5, so we will have x raised to 5 over 5 factorial. plus the remaining, the infinity of the series. So the Maclaurin series of sine of x is equal to x minus x cubed over 3 factorial plus x raised to 5 over 5 factorial and so on.